Reports are coming in from London of a new mural by enigmatic street artist Banksy. Banksy's real identity is unknown. Some people believe his real name is Robert Banks, while others say that he's Robin Gunningham, who was born in Bristol in 1973. Banksy has never confirmed or denied any of these reports, and his identity remains a mystery even though his art is recognised worldwide. There is an unconfirmed rumour that he trained to be a butcher before becoming a street artist. His graffiti art became famous in the 1990s in Bristol and London, but he chose to remain anonymous at first to avoid being arrested for acts of vandalism. So far, he has managed to protect his true identity and has remained out of reach of the authorities. When a new Banksy appears in the street, he posts it on his website. This is how he authenticates his street art and confirms to the public that it is genuine and not a fake. His artworks can fetch hundreds of thousands of pounds at auction. It is unclear how much of this money goes to Banksy himself, though people say he is worth $20 million.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to find some information on the internet for my art project. I've got to do an essay about artists who raise ethical issues through their work.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I did a similar module on my degree. You should write about street artists like Banksy who make statements about society through graffiti.
I don't know much about him. Do you?
Quite a bit, yeah. I used to think he was American because he's done a lot of work in New York, but it turns out that he's actually British. He's been doing street art for 25 years, but I've no idea how old he was when he started. Actually, it's amazing how he's managed to stay so enigmatic, but apparently his friends are really loyal and committed to helping him remain anonymous. I don't know much about his background, nobody does, but I can tell you about his murals and his painting techniques if you like.
Yes, that would be good.
OK. He started off with traditional painting onto walls, and then later he started using stencils and spray cans to speed up the painting process. When you want your identity to remain a secret, you don't want to hang around the streets too long doing something illegal. I mean, he is committing an offence.
Yeah, I suppose he is. Right, let me just finish writing that down. OK, so what's he trying to achieve with all this? What does he believe in?
Well, he's quite political. He calls himself an activist and he's against authority in general. He has strong beliefs about people and the way we live our lives. Some of his art draws our attention to the state of the environment and pollution, like this mural of a boy catching snowflakes in his mouth. Only if you look closer, it's not snowflakes, but ash. He painted it on a garage in an industrial town in Wales.
Yikes. So what other issues is he most interested in?
He's anti-war, so some of his murals aim to raise awareness of the stupidity of war. Look, I'll show you on this website about him.
Oh, right. I like the one of the protester who's about to throw a bouquet of flowers.
Yes, that's a good one. And it's quite obvious what it's about. It stands for peaceful protest. Banksy also does a lot of paintings of children and animals. His most popular image is a girl with a red heart-shaped balloon.
Oh, yes, I love that one. But it's a bit sad. The balloon is floating away from the little girl. I'm not sure what the underlying message is, but his art really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yes, that's right. The meaning isn't always obvious, but I know he's a strong believer in fairness and equality. That's why he's a good subject for your essay. This one has a clear message. He often uses his art to make statements about the treatment of animals.
It's so clever. You think the leopard is escaping from a cage, but then you realise it's a barcode. What does that mean?
I'm not sure. But as I said, it makes you think. That's his aim.
1.
I firmly believe they do. During the 1980s, due to pressure from anti-fur campaigners, the number of fashion designers using fur fell sharply. Sadly, fur seems to be fashionable again these days, so I would say that campaigns and protests are more important than ever. Obviously, protesting is a good way to promote awareness, but I think it is important to make your point peacefully. The anti-fur movement has received criticism in the past for using violent or illegal protests, and I also believe these do more harm than good. It could be argued that some of the more shocking images used in protests actually prevent some people from engaging with the movement. Frankly, I find some of the pictures extremely difficult to look at.
2.
Well, one obvious advantage is their ability to deliver a message to huge groups of people. Clearly, a lot of the general public are interested in the lives and opinions of public figures and celebrities. When a celebrity supports the anti-fur movement, lots of people take notice. Regrettably, the opposite is also true. When celebrities are seen wearing fur products, it sends the message that fur is glamorous and desirable. If you ask me, there is nothing glamorous or desirable about killing animals for the sake of fashion.
3.
I think I'd emphasise just how many animals have died to make their coat or hat or whatever it is they are wearing. Often people don't realise that to make a single coat from fox fur, for example, 15 to 20 animals have to be killed. I like them to think about these poor creatures every time they put on their beautiful coat. Can they really justify that much killing just so they can wear fur? In my opinion, fur is beautiful, but only when it's on the animals to which it belongs. For those who really can't do without the fur look, there are synthetic products that look exactly the same as the real thing. Some protesters feel that even synthetic fur is wrong, as it encourages the fashion to continue, but I don't feel particularly strongly about that.
Welcome to the Amazing Minds podcast. Our guest this week is Dr. James Maggs, Professor of Computer Science at Risinghurst University. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Maggs. Can you begin by telling us who you're going to talk about today?
Well, before I tell you, let me ask you something. When do you think the first computer program was written?
That would be the mid-20th century. Alan Turing?
Aha! You need to go back another 100 years to a woman that Alan Turing was inspired by. Her name is Ada Lovelace, and she was a brilliant mathematician and a computer visionary.
Was she the woman who worked with Charles Babbage?
That's right. She collaborated with Charles Babbage on a prototype for the first computer. At that time, it was known as the analytical engine. Charles Babbage is referred to as the father of the computer, but Lovelace is now credited with coming up with the first algorithm.
How interesting. So Ada Lovelace was 100 years ahead of her time.
Absolutely. She saw the true potential of their invention and was the first to recognise that the machine was capable of doing anything provided it was programmed correctly.
So, Dr. Maggs, considering that women didn't always have access to education in the 19th century, how did Ada Lovelace discover that she had an aptitude for this kind of work?
Her father was Lord Byron, the Romantic poet. He left her mother soon after Ada was born, and Ada's mother was afraid she would follow the same literary path as her father. So she arranged for the best teachers to give her lessons in science and mathematics.
It worked.
It did. And she's one of the few women who've won the respect of her fellow computer scientists for her contribution to science and technology. In fact, in 1980, the United States Department of Defense named a computer language after her.
Quite right. Thank you very much, Dr. Maggs.
You're very welcome.
1.
Good afternoon. Can I help you?
Oh, yes. I'm looking for a new laptop. I've got a budget of £400. Do you have anything in that price range?
Well, you won't be looking at a top-of-the-range model for that amount, but I'm happy to come up with a few options. Let's start here. This one's a basic laptop with 4 gigabytes of RAM and a terabyte of storage.
That sounds good.
Well, compared with how computers used to be, it's not bad. If you just want to stick to word processing and social networking, it's a waste of money buying a more powerful computer. But if you want to go in for gaming and download films and music, you can get a computer with 8 gigabytes of RAM and an SSD hard drive for £450. That's just £50 more.
I do want to download films and music, but do I really need 8 gigabytes of RAM?
Well, you need to think about the future. If you want to edit photos and videos, it's well worth spending a bit more. For just £50, you get double the RAM and SSD storage.
I'm not sure. I need to think it over.
Of course. If it helps you to make a decision, I'll throw in a laptop bag with the more expensive model.
2.
At the roundabout, take the third exit. Take the exit.
Are you sure this is right?
Well, the sat-nav seems to think it is. Why?
I thought we should be on the motorway by now. I'm going to go towards the motorway.
Turn around where possible.
The sat-nav didn't like that. I don't know why you insist on going on the motorway when the sat-nav was taking us another route.
Exit ahead.
Now it's trying to make us leave the motorway. I really don't think we should be on the motorway at all.
Have we got a map anywhere?
Why would we need a map? I think we should do what the sat-nav tells us to do.
After 200 metres, take the exit.
But I think it's wrong. Why don't we stop at the next service station and have a look at a map? Then we can figure out where to go.
Okay, but I don't know why you bother to have the sat-nav on if you don't think it works.
It was you who talked me into using it. I hate sat-navs. They just wind me up.
You just don't like being told what to do.
Sorry?
Nothing.
Turn around where possible.
3.
A report into street crime in the UK has revealed that moped robbery is on the rise. The number of offences has risen 30 times in 5 years. Offenders targeting phones and handbags take advantage of people who are distracted by their phones. Many of the moped robberies are concentrated around train and tube stations, where commuters and tourists often check their phones or look up directions. Since these figures were brought out, people have been urged by the government not to use phones in the street, but to go into a shop or cafe when they need to check something on a phone. The Metropolitan Police say that they are bringing in new security measures to help tackle the problem.
Whoa! What's this? It looks a bit scary.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Hi, and welcome to Mind-Blowing Machines. I'm Sam, and I'm an explainer here at the exhibition. Would you like to know a little bit more about this incredible machine?
Sure. What is it?
It's actually a fully automated remote surgical unit.
I'm afraid you've lost me there. It's a what?
Well, basically, it's a kind of robotic surgeon that can be controlled from anywhere in the world.
A robotic surgeon? Sounds like something from a nightmare. You'd never get me anywhere near that thing.
Yes, quite a few people say that, but it's perfectly safe. It's operated by a real human surgeon, of course. The 2 robotic arms here are actually steadier and provide a greater range of movement than the human hand. The machine makes it possible to provide expert surgical services to patients all around the world without the need to travel.
Are you saying that the surgeon doesn't actually have to be in the place where the operation takes place?
Yes, precisely. Using an ultra-fast telecommunications system, the machine would allow a surgeon here in London, for example, to perform an operation on a patient in Australia or Africa or anywhere in the world, in fact.
That's amazing.
Mind-blowing, huh?
1.
The entertainment industry is set to launch a new scheme in an effort to combat the high levels of internet piracy. The project, backed by UK internet service providers, will see people suspected of downloading illegal content alerted via educational letters informing them of where they can download the same content through more official channels. Reports suggest that 1 in 5 British people engage in some form of copyright infringement, but many believe that the new measures are not severe enough to curb the growing number of internet users downloading illegally.
2.
What are you doing? I thought you were doing the washing up.
Later. I just thought I'd get half an hour in before we go out.
Seriously, so I have to do the washing up again? You play that silly computer game for hours every day. You'd be better off studying for your driving exam next month. Don't come crying to me if you fail.
Oh, it's just a little harmless fun. And it helps me to relax.
Relax? That's a joke. You get so wound up that you're miserable for ages afterwards. And with your high blood pressure...
Oh, come on. Don't exaggerate.
Look at last Wednesday when Am and Bob came over. You could hardly be bothered to talk to them because you'd lost on that game.
3.
I don't know why I let myself get talked into buying this smartphone.
What's the problem? It's supposed to be a good phone. It has some pre-installed applications. You can see a complete list here. Just keep playing around with it.
But nothing seems to work. To connect to the internet, you should go to settings and press connect. At least that's what you'd expect. But look, there's no connect option.
That's weird. It should be simple enough. Is the Wi-Fi option on?
It's hard to tell. When I try to check, the thing just reboots. Nothing does what it's supposed to do. I'll have to take it back to the shop.
A plastics factory is the breeding ground for the familiar species, the plastic bottle. It hatches here in safety before being filled with water and going out into the big wide world. We first encounter our plastic bottle in its natural habitat, the supermarket. Once the water has been consumed, the bottle is discarded and released into the wild. It encounters many predators on its journey to its final destination, a garbage patch the size of Texas in the heart of the Pacific Ocean. As the bottle fights its way through the city, the eco-warrior is one of its most dangerous enemies and may one day be responsible for its extinction. Eco-warriors reject single-use plastics, claiming that plastic contamination is doing irreparable damage to the environment. After a narrow escape, our plastic bottle continues to make its way through the leafy neighbourhoods of the city. You'd think our plastic bottle would be safe in the local park, but no. The litter-collecting park warden hunts the bottle and tries to catch it with his weapon. Our plastic bottle knows that the park warden will not stop until it's in captivity. Another dangerous enemy often encountered in the park is the child. They love to play with their prey, kicking it around the playground. But our brave bottle is still on the loose, continuing its miraculous migration through built-up areas, down city streets, and out into the orchards and meadows of the open countryside. The farmer is the next threat to the survival of our plastic bottle. Many of the species end up attached to a pole to scare off birds that come and eat the seeds on a freshly ploughed field, or stuck forever in a ditch. But not our bottle. It continues its journey. In areas of natural beauty, the plastic bottle feels unwelcome. Fortunately, a gust of wind picks it up and drops it in a stream where the bottle floats on the surface. The stream flows out of the foothills and into the plain, where it becomes a river. The river currents move it ever closer to the open sea, where it will be reunited with millions of its own species who have, like our bottle, been set free to roam the Californian landscape. The sea is close now. It can feel it. The bottle will now continue its journey across the ocean to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which has a thriving population of millions of tons of plastic waste. Our bottle will never disappear completely because it isn't biodegradable, but will live alongside other plastic waste before breaking into tiny pieces, entering marine life's food chain and completing the cycle of life.
Mum, where are we going on holiday this year? I wish we could go back to that campsite we went to last year.
And the year before, and the year before that, and the year before...
OK, Ellie, we get the message.
Well, it's boring to go to the same place every year. If only we could go somewhere exciting for a change.
Like where?
I don't know. I just wish we could do something different, have an adventure.
Yes, I agree. I think it's time we did something cultural. I've had enough of lounging on sunbeds. Let's go somewhere where we can learn something about the culture.
Well, I don't see what's wrong with sunbeds myself. I wish you all realised how much I look forward to doing nothing for 2 weeks. I've got a stressful job and I look after you lot too.
Look, we can do both. We can go somewhere where you can lie in the sun and we can go and explore the museums and churches.
Dad, that wasn't what I meant. I want to have an experience. If only we could go on safari or go trekking in the Himalayas or sail across the ocean.
Sail across the ocean? Can I remind you that we haven't won the lottery recently?
I'd rather we went to the campsite we went to last year.
But Ben, we don't do anything there. We just go to the beach every day.
Fine by me.
No, Ellie's right. It's time we went outside our comfort zone. We should have a family adventure. I've always wanted to do whitewater rafting. Let's go to France. It'll be hot, Mum can sunbathe, and we can have an adventure.
I'd rather go to the Himalayas.
We can go there when you become a millionaire. Here, let's Google whitewater rafting in France. So, what was the best part of the holiday for you?
Definitely not the sunburn. If only I'd worn more sunscreen.
Yes, you really suffered, didn't you, Ellie?
You were so red. But the best part for me was when you fell out of the raft. I wish I hadn't forgotten my camera. It would have been a great photo.
I wish you'd fallen in too, Ben. Then you wouldn't think it was so funny. The water was freezing.
Oh, it sounds awful. I'm so glad I stayed at the campsite. I just wish I'd known about the mosquitoes. I was bitten to death. But it's better than being frightened to death in the raft.
Yes, I must admit it was frightening. But we wanted to go outside our comfort zone, and we certainly did.
Welcome to Animal World, the series in which we examine animals' behaviour in their natural habitats. This week, we're turning our attention to some of the smartest animals on the planet. Here to deliver today's 3-minute lecture is wildlife expert and animal rights campaigner Dr. Roger Matthews. Thank you, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you. When you think of intelligent animals, no doubt chimpanzees come to mind. Chimpanzees share 98% of the same genes as humans, and they resemble humans in many ways. They have complex emotions. They embrace, they kiss and hug each other, and they laugh when they're playing. They experience adolescence and develop powerful mother and child bonds. They are also similar to humans in that they attack and kill rival gangs of chimpanzees when they want to extend their territory. The notion of chimpanzees being aggressive is pretty shocking, but it's even harder to imagine dolphins being anything other than affectionate, playful, and intelligent. Dolphins are undoubtedly extremely intelligent. They have large brains and a number of things in common with humans and chimpanzees. They are highly social creatures and form stable communities. Also, like humans, they are totally dependent on their parents during childhood. But they're also good at defending themselves and can be quite competitive, even aggressive, particularly when they want to keep other males away from a female. But I'd like to move nearer to home and consider farm animals. Which do you think are the least intelligent? Cows, maybe? Or sheep? It's true that sheep have a reputation for being stupid because they mindlessly follow the crowd and, frankly, they don't look very bright. However, scientific research shows that they've been seriously undervalued. Sheep are actually surprisingly intelligent, with impressive memory and recognition skills. The truth is that sheep are far smarter than we think, which proves that appearances can be deceptive. Look at owls. We call them wise, but it's a common misconception. Owls are not very clever at all. Then there are dogs and cats. Cats seem to have strong personalities, while some dogs can be rather silly. But in fact, dogs' brains have been developing for centuries, while cats' brains have remained unchanged since they were first domesticated by the ancient Egyptians. This can be explained by one simple fact. Dogs are more social than cats, and the more social the animal, the more developed the brain, and therefore the smarter the animal. If you think about it, dogs come when you call and are eager to please their owner. They're used as rescue dogs, police dogs, guide dogs. Cats, on the other hand, are loners. Cat lovers may be annoyed to hear that. They think that dogs are people-pleasers who do tricks because they've been trained to come when you call their name or to fetch the ball. Cats, on the other hand, are too independent to do tricks, they say, and they don't need the approval of humans like dogs do. The truth of the matter is that everyone thinks their own pet is the smartest. I've got a goldfish, and I'm sure he can tell the time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matthews, for your fascinating lecture. In future, I won't judge an animal on what it looks like. Next week, we're talking about elephants. But until then, goodbye.
Have you ever wondered what mysteries lie directly beneath your feet? Of course, there are your socks and shoes and the floor, then possibly a cellar, then probably earth and rocks, and then perhaps an underground lake, or perhaps something altogether more unexpected, something ancient and astonishingly beautiful. In 2000, mineral miners from the town of DINH in northern Mexico made an astounding discovery beneath the ground. What they found took the idea of buried treasure to a whole new level. During this presentation, I plan to tell you more about Cueva de los Cristales, a truly incredible natural wonder. We are all familiar with underground caves from films and documentaries, even if we have never actually been in one ourselves. You may be aware that caves can be very dangerous places, but also fascinating places. Most people don't realise, however, just how stunning they can actually be. When those Mexican miners drained the water from a system of underground caverns at the beginning of the new millennium, their discovery proved that caves can be among the most awe-inspiring environments on the planet. Hiding and growing in the darkness for 500,000 years, the enormous crystals of Cueva de los Cristales, or Giant Crystal Cave, now on the screen, are some of the biggest ever discovered. The largest is 12 metres long, 4 metres in diameter, and weighs 55 tonnes. Unfortunately, you won't be able to visit them anytime soon, as the caves are extremely hot. Temperatures of up to 58 degrees Celsius mean that, without proper protection, it is impossible to remain underground there for more than 10 minutes at a time. As you can see in this picture, scientists exploring the caves in 2006 had to wear breathing equipment and specially designed suits to keep them cool. It is believed that there are more undiscovered caverns at DINH, but exploring them would mean demolishing many of the crystals already uncovered. Instead, the plan is to finish doing research, then reflood the caves with water and seal them up again. OK, that's all from me. Thank you for listening. I hope you found the presentation interesting. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask now.